Mobile devices. I'm Dr. Mary Cecil. Let's talk about tablets and phones. The security risks include viruses, social engineering, and lost devices. Most mobile devices are not designed with security in mind. Some compromises have been made to enable smartphone operating systems to run on a variety of hardware, such as Android. Smartphone virus infections are particularly difficult to detect and to remove. Users may be unaware that their data is being monitored and captured, and that a hacker is just waiting for the right time to use it. Businesses can suffer economic and other damage, such as erosion of information assets or even negative goodwill from a damaged image. Social engineering is using various ways of fooling the user into providing private data, and this is the most common approach criminal hackers use, and it continues to rise. Machines do their job and software performs exactly as it is programmed to do, but human beings are the weakest link. As usage trends in the direction of a more mobile and remote workforce, people need to be trained as to what threats exist and constantly updated on new criminal schemes and approaches. This training is all part of an overall information governance effort, controlling who has access to what information, when, and from where. Considering their small size, mobile computing devices store a tremendous amount of data, and storage capabilities are increasing, with the continued shrinking of circuits and advancements in SSD technologies. Add to that fact that they are highly portable and often unsecured, and you have a vulnerable mix that criminals can target. Considering how often people lose or misplace their mobile devices, and what valuable targets they are for physical theft, and it is clear that the use of mobile devices represents an inherent secured risk. But they do not have to be lost or stolen to be compromised. Intruders can sometimes gain all the access they need if the device is left alone and unprotected, or if the data is sniffed out of the air during wireless communications. The devices can be compromised with the use of keystroke loggers that capture every single entry a user makes. This can be done without the user having any knowledge of it. This means company passwords, confidential databases, and financial loss, including personal and corporate credit card numbers, are all at risk. These risks can be mitigated. Mobile device management is critical to secure confidential information assets and individual devices. Some available technologies can write devices to protect confidential documents and data remotely, even after they are lost or stolen. These types of utilities need to be deployed to protect an enterprise's information assets. The first and best way to protect confidential information assets is to remove confidential, unnecessary, or unneeded data from the mobile devices. It's best if they've never been stored there in the first place. Confidential data should not be stored on the device unless explicit permission is given by the IT department, business unit head, or the Information Governance Board to do so. This includes price lists, strategic plans, competitive information, photo images of corporate buildings or coworkers, and financial data such as tax identification numbers, company credit card or banking details, and other confidential information. If it is necessary for sensitive data to be stored on mobile devices, there are options to secure the data more tightly, using USB drives, flash drives, and hard drives that have integrated digital identity and cryptographic encryption capabilities. Make sure your organization or outside development firm uses seasoned application developers who have secure coding trailing and use a secure software development lifecycle. Make sure that the customer or the employee is required to re-enter credentials after a certain period of time to prevent someone other than the mobile device owners from obtaining access to private account information. Hire an information security expert to assess the security around your mobile application servers. Unfortunately, an organization's servers are often overlooked during a risk assessment, as they require a specialized skill set to test them. Encrypt sensitive data that is stored on a mobile device and account data that travels from the handset across the internet. Ensure that the encryption is implemented properly, and hire a security expert to test the security of a mobile application before you implement it across your customer base. Mobile device management could include something such as G Suite's mobile device management. Let's take a closer look.
Hi there, I'm Miles Fisher from Highview, a Google Cloud partner. In this video, we're going to take a look at Google Mobile Device Management. This is intended just as a first look, but should help you familiarize yourself with the capabilities of mobile device management. If you have any questions, make sure you contact us. Let's get into it. From the Google G Suite Admin Console, I'm selecting the tile called Device Management. On the left-hand side panel, you'll see some options that say Device Settings, Networks, Chrome Management. And then under Mobile, you'll see a variety of options beginning with Setup, Password Settings, Android and iOS settings, more advanced configuration, device approvals, apps management, and insights. And then there's 4 core tiles. So primarily, you'll be working with mobile device management. If your organization plans to roll out Chromebooks at some point, you will also be able to manage Chromebooks through this device management console, as well as any hardware that you are utilizing, such as Chromebox for meetings. Highly recommend taking a look at that down the road. And then the newest addition is endpoint verification. So endpoint verification allows you to push out a Google Chrome extension, which gathers some information about the computers that your employees are using. So you can get an overview of the devices, not only on mobile, but also desktops and laptops that are being used to access Google Suite. In this demo, I simply want to click into mobile device management. And really, this is just a first look, not a full product demonstration. And the most basic way of using mobile device management is enabling the out-of-the-box basic mobile device management feature. And really, the core part of this is enforcing employees to set up a lock screen, and also allowing you as a systems administrator to remote wipe the Google G Suite data from their device. So once again, this works with devices that employees are bringing into the office, their personal devices. How the workflow goes, they download the Gmail app or Google Calendar app. When they log in, it will say your systems admin has a mobile device management policy in place. You need to set up a lock screen. We'll take them to settings to set up a lock screen before they can log into Google G Suite. Just a quick overview of how that works. For organizations that have company-owned or company-issued devices, you can take advantage of a range of options available through the mobile device management console, including different ways of syncing, Android application management, setting up push certificates for Apple devices, etc. If you'd like to see a more comprehensive demo of mobile device management, please contact our team. But that's a good first look at the capabilities of Google Mobile Device Management. Thank you.
So how do we get started? We get started with policies, and developing a comprehensive mobile strategy is key. And then we start with all device policies. We then include variety stakeholders, and we need to understand how all devices fit and what all technology. So first, for a cross-functional mobile strategy team, we need to have good variety stakeholders, we need IT, business teams, and resources. And the strategy development policy should also have the expertise in understanding risk management, compliance, governance management, and legal requirements. The aim will be to balance risks and benefits to improve report productivity and audience risks while understanding the goals and business objectives of the organization. And then clarify the goals for the mobile strategy. Start with a strategy definition. Business drivers, challenges, and opportunities that the mobile community provides. And draw a direct line from mobile business needs to the planned mobile support strategy. Keep the business goals in mind and lead into the discussion. Drill down with the policy and required details. We might also compare existing mobile device policies to inform our mobile strategy team. Those from peer organizations and competitors will be most relevant. Then start with the basics. Which type of devices and operating systems make sense for our organization? What changes and trends are occurring in the technology marketplace? Which sensitive e-documents and data must we protect? What is the available security technologies that we might deploy? It might be helpful to segment our mobile units into broad categories and break out a list of their specific business needs. The strategy and policies for executives might be different than those for field business units. And we will need a bring your own device policy if our organizations choose to go this route. Budgeting and expense control. Is the organization going to buy devices and pay mobile expenses through direct billing? What cost controls need to be in place? Or will mobile device use expenses being reimbursed by a flat rate or by processing expense reports? What about bring your own device? Are there any charge limits? Decisions on the finance and cost control aspects of mobile computing must be made by the policy team under the guidance of the executive sponsor. Consider legal aspects and liability issues. Consult the legal counsel on this. What key laws and regulations apply to mobile use? Where could users run afoul? What privacy and security issues are most prominent to consider? What about the privacy data laws? What about bring your own device? Are there any overarching considerations to maintain security for private information? This would also include a policy on remote wipes of sensitive data, or even all data. Weigh device and data security issues. Since most mobile devices, especially phones, were not designed with security in mind, we must take steps to provide the sensitive data and to secure the device themselves without impeding business or making operations too difficult for the end user. The world of mobile computing presents new challenges that were not present when IT had full control of endpoint devices and internal networks. Clear mobile security policies and controls must be in place. Develop your communications and training plan. Users must be apprised or reminded of your mobile device policy. They also need to know the consequences of violating the policies. Your communications and training plan should be creative, from posters to text to email messages, from corporate newsletters to group training sessions. You might want to first pilot your new policy with a small group of users, but communication and training are key. A perfect mobile device policy will not work if it's not communicated properly and users are not trained properly. Update and fine-tune. There will be some misses, some places where your deploy and your mobile policy you find room for improvement. You will receive user feedback, which should be considered too, and there will be changes in the technology marketplace and user trends. A program must be in place to periodically review, perhaps every 6 months or perhaps every year. You should review your mobile device policy and any audit information to make improvements in the policy. So your information governance policy should include encryption. For phones that support encrypted communications, secure socket layer, SSN, virtual private networks, VPN, hypertext transfer protocol. Always configure defaults to use encryption. Phones approved to access confidential information assets must encrypt their bulk storage with hardware encryption. Your policy should also address password protection. Configure a password to gain access or to use the device. Passwords for devices that can access confidential information assets should be at least 7 characters in length, for example, and use upper and lowercase letters, as well as some numerical characters. And perhaps passcodes should be changed every day. Address the length of passwords, address the content of passwords, and address how often a password should be changed. Your information governance policy should also address timeouts. It should say something like, set the device so it's locked after a period of time of idleness or timeout, perhaps something as short as a few minutes. Update. Keep all system and application patches up to date, including mobile OSs, and install applications. This will allow for the latest security measures and patches to be installed to counter ongoing threats. Protect from hacking. This includes jailbreaking. You may want to include in your policy that phones approved to access confidential and restricted data must not be jailbroken, which means hacked to gain privileged access on a smartphone using the Apple iOS, or rooted, which typically refers to jailbreaking on a smartphone running Android. It usually includes exploiting a security weakness in the firmware shipped from the factory. So we have covered mobile devices, potential security risks, how to mitigate those risks, steps to developing policies, and information that would be included in a typical information governance policy.